Welcome to Quiz Play. Get ready to test your skills and discover 100 movies just by an image. Each correct answer is worth 1 point, so focus and show what you know. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive more challenges like this one. Now, let's get started. Guess the movie? The Godfather. What's the movie? Batman: The Dark Knight. Can you figure this out? Titanic. How many points have you scored so far? Forrest Gump. Guess what the movie title is? The Matrix. Do you recognize this movie? Star Wars: A New Hope. Are you familiar with this scene? Pulp Fiction. How many movies have you identified? Jurassic Park. How about trying to guess the name of this classic? Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Have you watched this movie before? The Lion King. What's the first movie that comes to mind when you see this image? Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Have you watched this iconic movie? Gladiator. This movie is a classic. Schindler's List. Do you remember this movie? The Lord of the Rings. Do you remember any other scene from this movie? This movie is Avatar. How long did it take you to identify this movie? Interstellar. Guess the movie? Saving Private Ryan. What's the movie? E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Can you figure this out? Avengers: Endgame. How many points have you scored so far? Jaws. Guess what the movie title is? Black Panther. Do you recognize this movie? Toy Story. Are you familiar with this scene? Up. How many movies have you identified? Casablanca. How about trying to guess the name of this classic? Blade Runner. Have you watched this movie before? WALL-E. What's the first movie that comes to mind when you see this image? Fight Club. Have you watched this iconic movie? The Truman Show. This movie is a classic. Inception. Do you remember this movie? Whiplash. Do you remember any other scene from this movie? Ratatouille. How long did it take you to identify this movie? Inglourious Bastard. Guess the movie? Edward Scissorhands. What's the movie? A Star is Born. Can you figure this out? The Sound of Music. Guess what the movie title is? Braveheart. How many points have you scored so far? Good Will Hunting. Do you recognize this movie? Black Swan. Are you familiar with this scene? Terminator 2, Judgment Day. How many movies have you identified? Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. How about trying to guess the name of this classic? $1 Million Baby. This movie is a classic. Ben-Hur. Have you watched this iconic movie? Life is Beautiful. What's the first movie that comes to mind when you see this image? Mad Max, Fury Road. Have you watched this movie before? The Chronicles of Narnia. Do you remember this movie? The Neverending Story. Do you remember any other scene from this movie? The Incredibles. How long did it take you to identify this movie? The Terminal. Guess what the movie title is? La La Land. This movie is a classic. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Are you familiar with this scene? Cars. Do you recognize this movie? Chicken Run. How many movies have you identified? Monsters, Inc. Guess the movie? This movie is Twilight. Do you remember any other scene from this movie? Shrek. What's the movie? Grease. Can you figure this out? Inside Out. How many points have you scored so far? The Fast and the Furious. Guess what the movie title is? Beauty and the Beast. Do you recognize this movie? Iron Man. Are you familiar with this scene? Captain America, Civil War. How many movies have you identified? Back to the Future. How about trying to guess the name of this classic? Rocky. Have you watched this movie before? Top Gun. What's the first movie that comes to mind when you see this image? The Karate Kid. Have you watched this iconic movie? The Goonies. This movie is a classic. Rambo. Do you remember this movie? Dead Poets Society. Do you remember any other scene from this movie? Remember the Titans. How long did it take you to identify this movie? Dirty Dancing. Guess the movie? Ghost. What's the movie? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Guess the movie? Free Willy. Guess what the movie title is? Patch Adams. Guess the movie? Space Jam. Are you familiar with this scene? Sister Act. How about trying to guess the name of this classic? Cool Runnings. Guess the movie? The Last Samurai. What's the first movie that comes to mind when you see this image? The Mummy. Have you watched this iconic movie? The Mask of Zorro. Do you remember this movie? Dante's Peak. How long did it take you to identify this movie? This movie is Apollo 13. Do you remember any other scene from this movie? The Shawshank Redemption. What's the first movie that comes to mind when you see this image? Armageddon. This movie is a classic. Castaway. How about trying to guess the name of this classic? The Patriot. Are you familiar with this scene? This movie is Mission Impossible. Guess what the movie title is? The Kid. Guess the movie? Frozen. What's the movie? Minions. Can you figure this out? 007 Skyfall. How long did it take you to identify this movie? Transformers: Dark of the Moon. This movie is a classic. Pirates of the Caribbean. What's the first movie that comes to mind when you see this image? Aladdin. Guess what the movie title is? Finding Nemo. Are you familiar with this scene? Jumanji. How about trying to guess the name of this classic? This movie is Coco. Have you watched this movie before? Moana. Guess the movie? This movie is Barbie. Have you watched this iconic movie? Oppenheimer. Congratulations, you're finished. Write in the comments how many you got right. Thank you for watching and subscribe to the channel to receive more challenges like this one. Until next time.